I think the more umbrellas you write, the more policies you will write. Because my analogy, maybe I'm not the first to say this, but I see them as like a 3-pointer, because you have to have an auto, like a home policy, and the umbrella to have an umbrella with the same company.
On today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with an elite producer. And when I say elite, I mean he did 385 policies in a single month, and he's doing 300 plus consistently. That's over $200,000 in issued premium a month. And we are diving into how he is getting it done month in and month out. With that being said, let's start the show. Welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and today we are with an elite agency producer, Jacob Yengebrov.
Yengebrov.
Oh, there we go. See, I have a problem with the rolling tongue. Jacob, I apologize. I knew I was going to butcher it.
So Jacob is writing, on average, 385 was his highest month, but that's not something that he just does once. That's on average. He's writing 385 policies or items a month.
Get this, 385 policies in a single month with roughly about $225,000 in premium issued. Jacob, welcome to the Insurance Buzz, baby. We about to dive in.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So, where to even start with this? Let's start with, Jacob, what does because you're producing more in a given month than some agencies even produce in a year. So I would love to know, we can go a bunch of different routes. I'm just going to dive into, what does the life of Jacob look like on a daily basis?
Oof. So obviously it's evolved, right? I mean, I wasn't doing this when I first started, but I would say like, it's recently changed because I moved to an apartment down the street from work. So my commute's like 3 minutes. So, I mean, I usually get to work 8 and then I leave about 6 or 7. And then I usually work on Saturdays, sometimes on Sunday mornings, because I don't need 2 days to like recover. I just need like a day, maybe half a day, and then I'm chilling. So I usually work 6 days a week. I don't think it's realistic to do the amount I'm doing working 9 to 5. I really think you just have to like grind it out and then put in the extra hours.
What does your day look like? Let's break down each day. If you walk into the office right now, it's 8 a.m. Walk me through an entire day from 8 to 6.
All right. So very first thing I do, I get in the office, open my laptop, and then I grab an energy drink, and I'm sipping on one right now, of course. So have to get wired first thing. But I mean, I have leads come in at 8, and I do some coaching calls for other producers, and they ask me like how structured my day is. I would call it more like controlled chaos, right? Because I always I'm either talking to someone on the phone when I'm quoting them, responding to an email, take caring of some kind of like underwriting thing. We got back from the underwriting team, so I don't like block it off. I either start off my day, look at the emails, make some calls, work some leads, and then just kind of take them in as they come. But I would just say I put on my headset and I just get going to work. I prioritize like claims issues and then like sending ID cards or like calling back clients. I mean, I try to do that as best as I can, but I usually catch myself on the phone talking to leads maybe 30 minutes, sometimes an hour at a time.
Okay, timeout. So you're not just producing, you're also servicing?
I now have an assistant who like helps me out with my service that was implemented like 4 months ago, but I typically service first 6 months for auto, first year for home, and then other than that, I have an assistant who helps me out when I'm like absolutely slammed. I don't know if she'll watch this podcast, but shout out to Oksana. The month she started helping me out is the month I wrote 385. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without her because there's just so much like service and like stuff to get back to with clients that I just need that help. And then ever since she's kind of been by my side, like my production just skyrocketed.
Okay, so what objections? So you're doing 385 policies or items a month. What objections are you running into in the current market? And I would love to hear how you're overcoming those.
I would say the most common one, because not everyone's eligible in my state for insurance with my company. So it's a bit difficult to help out everyone. And the most uncomfortable thing is telling a customer that they're ineligible because it kind of feels personal in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to offer help in any way I can, give them some advice on what they should do with their coverage. And then if I can't help them out now, I'll call them in 6 months to see if I can help them out on their next renewal. Price is not a common one that I get, to be honest, because I like to think I talk high value whenever I quote clients, and then we can touch on that later. But I would say just the why am I not eligible for insurance with your company is a really big one. And then I get price here and there. But other than that, I don't really overcome objections that I can't really handle, to be honest, because I kind of view it as like if you don't explain well enough, like in your quoting process, like you will get objections at the end. So I kind of like to kind of make the conversation smooth so I don't really deal with too many objections when I'm asking for the sale, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Jacob. Like, never ever tell anyone they're ineligible. Anyone listening to this right now, never ever tell anyone that they're ineligible. It's just not the right timing. The rate didn't come back the way you wanted. I'll call you in 5 months, because the mindset behind that is once you tell somebody they're ineligible, they think they're always ineligible. So I love that, Jacob. And I also love that you said price, because price is the number one objection that I get asked about in coaching and training producers is, well, it always comes back to price. It always comes back to price. It always comes back to price. And my feedback on that is, well, are you concentrated on the price, or is the customer concentrated on the price? Because if you're concentrated on the price, the customer is definitely going to be concentrated on the price. And what is your value prop within the presentation besides just telling people how good you are, how different you are, and how great your company is? Like, you actually have to have value prop. So what are some non-negotiables for you in the quoting process to add value to that conversation? Is it increase coverages, increase policies? Like, what does that look like?
I love umbrellas. I think the more umbrellas you write, the more policies you will write, because my analogy, maybe I'm not the first to say this, but I see them as like a three-pointer, because you have to have an auto, like a home policy, and the umbrella to have an umbrella with the same company. So I find myself talking a lot about umbrellas, and then you uncover other needs. Oh, there's a boat. There's two rental properties. You can't really discover it that easily if you're quoting auto, but if you take the conversation to a next level and you talk about protecting their income and their assets and bring up umbrella, I just think that just takes the conversation to a whole nother level. And then they almost want to work with you because they have like a trust, like more trust with you. Because if you're talking just income and assets and not just price, like I feel people trust me more. And then the types of referrals I get, they're the same kind of people. So the people that I'm getting, referrals from, it's also people who believe in high limits, have umbrellas, have rental properties and such. So I would say, I think the month I did 385, I think I did 39 or 40 umbrellas in a month. And I probably write maybe 30 on average, I would say. So I think the value of higher limits and then steering the conversation that way has really helped me out a lot.
I love that you're bringing that up, because when we're talking, especially like an umbrella, a lot of times we're using words that the customer understands. We're talking about being sued. We're talking if somebody were to get hurt. We're talking about things that the customer's like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is what would happen if somebody were to fall or something like that were to happen. Like, that's a different conversation than you have state minimum coverage. This is what happens if you get into an auto accident. Yeah, like that's not exactly. And to your point, you have higher liability limits to be able to even carry that umbrella. But you brought up referrals. I'm curious, how much of your business is referrals and how much of your business are you getting from internet leads? If you want to share like kind of what that process looks like.
I definitely want to know what the lead breakdown looks like to get to be producing 300 plus policies a month every month. Let's just say that. Like, what does the lead breakdown look like?
That's a good question. I don't really track it, to be honest, but I kind of have like a rough idea. And one thing that I have to be better at, and then, I mean, I don't think everything I do is perfect. I don't ask for referrals at the end of the sale anymore. I just think it's more important to be like referable, right? Because if you do a good job and then like the customer you helped out likes you, they will send you referrals without even asking. So that's one thing I have to be better at. I'm not perfect, but to answer the question, so I think maybe like 70% leads, 30% referrals, winbacks. It's very heavy on the leads because my agent just like, he put me in a position where like he believes in me so much, and then like all I have to do is just call out quote people, and I don't answer any phones really. I'm just literally smiling and dialing and then quoting maybe 10, 15 people a day.
And 30%, did you say referrals or winbacks?
I would say like 20% referrals, 10% winbacks.
Okay. So when you say 70%, can you give us an idea of how many? So you said you're talking to 10 to 15 people a day. So how many leads are you actually working a day? Like just purely internet leads. Let's skip the referrals, skip the winbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically, do you know roughly about how many leads you work on average a day?
Maybe like 8 to 12, because sometimes I don't get like any leads in a day. I have them like turned off because I have to catch up on stuff. But I would say average day maybe like 8 to 12.
Okay, let's go with the average. So 10, so 50 internet leads a week. Okay, that's impressive. That's really good. All right. What would you? So you're working leads, referrals, winbacks. What do you think? Because there's a lot of producers in your same situation that are working way more internet leads than you are, way more leads in general. So what do you think is the difference between what you're doing and maybe what other producers struggle with that has gotten you to the 100 policies, then 200, now 300? Like, what is that differentiating factor? Is it the amount of hours you're putting in? Is it like what is it, Jacob? That's what everybody wants to know right now. They're like, "What's the secret sauce, baby? What's the magic bullet?"
So I don't think I got leads until roughly about my first year working, because my first year I was just working like an X customer list. I didn't even get any leads, so I was just working strictly X customer list, and it was all winbacks. I did that for about a year. I built my pipeline. I was able to do 100 policies in a month by my third month, doing it that way, just strictly winbacks. Then I started working internet leads. I noticed my production increased after that because I have like a mixture of like the pipeline I've built, and then I'm also getting new prospects on the phone. But as far as working them, I mean, I notice a lot of people only call a lead once or twice, and that's just simply not enough. Each given lead call 6 to 10 times probably. I usually double dial the first time I get the lead that comes in, and if they still don't answer,
double tap, baby.
100%. You have to, and then if you're feeling it, maybe a triple tap. Who knows? But and if they still don't answer my call after the second dial, I send them a text just with their name and a question mark. So if I'm trying to call Michael, I call him twice, he does not answer the phone, I send him a text just with his name and a question mark. And that's it. And I wait for them to respond. As soon as I see the response back on the text, I call them right away. And then they usually answer.
Oh, man. This is what I think I've actually shared that on a podcast episode before. The easiest way to do is double tap, followed up with a text message with the first name question mark. And when they respond, boom, you hit them right back on the phone and they will answer. That's what you just said, right?
Wait, you coach that? There's no way. That's crazy.
The exact process.
No way.
Exact
I actually
strategy.
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
And,
no, yeah.
In your 6 to 10 contacts, I also, like, I say 12. I've always said 12 contacts in a 20-day period, just because the average contact for a cold lead is about 8 contacts going off of data from a few years ago. So, I agree with all of this. And I think the one thing I don't want to skip out on this, because I believe that everybody always looks for a magic bullet, secret sauce. There is no such thing as magic bullet, secret sauce. What you're doing is amazing, and you deserve a lot of credit because you're really great at the conversion piece. But you are putting in the work. You're putting in the contacts. You're making sure you're making the most out of every single lead.
I want to talk about this a little bit, though, because putting in the work looks very different for a lot of people. I'm curious of your mindset. Like, how are you getting into the frame of mind of, okay, this is the goal that I have, and this is what I'm going to do to accomplish it? Are you reading things? Are you listening to things? Do you have mentors? Like, what does that look like to make sure that you're at the peak of your game?
So I think my boss he'll probably watch this podcast, and then I had no sales experience coming into insurance. Like before I started working, I was doing like sports announcing at night and then washing dishes in the morning right before class. And then I met Hike, and then he basically taught me everything, right? Like how to make calls, how to do everything. So I learned everything from him, and then he just put me in an opportunity to succeed. I think one part that's really underrated is like I probably have more fun working than most, right? Because I'm able to work a bunch because I just love doing it, right? Like I think it's fun to like talk to different people, overcome different objections, make a few jokes with clients on the phones, right? I mean, I miss all about it. So I I used to read a lot more sales books, not so much anymore, because I mean, I just feel like if you can know everything and then not put it into use, and it be kind of be useless. But if you find the information, find what works for you, it's just time for you to just start working and just like dial in the phone. Um, so one, I learned a lot from Hike, taught me everything, put me in a really amazing position, and then two, I just have fun working, to be honest.
He's speaking your language now.
Oh, he is. You have, Jacob, you have hit my core, because I believe that money follows fun. And I think a lot of times when we put hard work in a category, we think that fun goes away. And you're saying, no, 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 they play in the same sandbox. Like, I'm able to work so hard. I'm able to put in these hours because I enjoy what I do so much. I love that you bring that up. Okay, so question, what are you doing when you're not working? Like, how do you turn this off?
That's a good question. I don't, I mean, when I'm not working, I'm probably like going on walks. Maybe I'll catch a workout. I'll read something. I don't really watch TV too much, to be honest. I mean, I just strictly working, reading, making sure I'm eating the right foods and stuff. And I just love the grind, because I know like whatever I do on a day-to-day basis will compound over the next 5-10 years. And I just want the person who I'm going to become when I'm like 30, 32 years old to be thankful for the work I'm putting in now. So I just prioritize work, reading, eating good, being healthy. And I think that's another big thing too, because if you're not healthy and you're sick all the time, you miss work. I mean, my 2-year mark in insurance will be in like a couple weeks. I've never been sick and I haven't missed a day of work for being sick. So I think that's really big, piece to this. I know I'm just kind of going on a bit of a tangent here, but I think, health is like really important. I could be healthier. I should probably stay away from the stims. But I mean, besides, I think being healthy is really important. Then like your focus should go towards that.
We completely agree with that. We think that health is wealth, and that's a huge proponent for us too. So what did Hike say to you, or what was so great about this opportunity that you were like, yeah, I would like to get into insurance, having no insurance experience, washing dishes during the day? Like, I would love to know what was so intriguing about this opportunity.
I just hated what I was doing at the time, because I held 3 jobs. So I worked at a salad place. I would wash like the dishes there. I would go to class, work at another restaurant, come home, study for a little bit, and then I would announce like a sports game at night. And like going through that loop and then studying something I didn't like, I mean, it just like, I felt like I didn't have a future, right? And before I even started working at State Farm, I was in nursing school. So completely different, just like background, like completely. And then my grandmother was a client of Hike's for like 10 plus years. She called them. She was like, hey, my grandson reminds me a lot like of you. You should hire him. And then he calls me, and then I take the call while I'm at work, and I'm pacing up and down like the aisle. And then after that phone call ends, I quit those jobs the same day. Then I start to study for my license, got them both done in 4 weeks, and I was hired after that.
That's incredible.
It is incredible, and it's you're casting a vision for yourself, the opportunity that you want, something that you enjoy, but also, you said it earlier, when you look back, and I have no idea how old you are right now, but when you look back, you want your 32-year-old self to be happy with the work that you've put in and the life you've created, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. It's amazing. And it's big goals, big dreamers. I think that's where it has to start, is that vision for your life. And then what is it going to look like to get there? So I have a question going back to the production, because I know a lot of people probably are wondering this. I'm wondering this right now. are you emailing out, mailing quotes, or is the only production that you're writing conversations converted to closes?
Whenever I tell people this, they think like you're crazy, but I never leave voicemails. I never email. I strictly just call and text. I think voicemails and emails are a complete waste of time unless you talk to them first. Because you of course, you'd want to send them an email of a quote after you talk to them. But to get their attention, I mean, I think voicemails and emails are a complete waste of time. So I never do them because I don't check my voicemails at all. And I mean, I never check my email without a reason. So why would I do that to someone else?
I'm not going to disagree with you on email. I think that emails are, you can use it as part of your contact, but don't be don't be emailing out quotes, right? Don't be emailing out quotes. Don't be texting quotes. Would you agree with that?
I would email them after I speak to them, but I wouldn't ghost quote, meaning quote them first, then email. You always want to talk to them first, because if you send them an email of like a ghost quote or whatever you want to call it, you can risk getting the wrong information. The price can change. You don't know everything. And the phone number can be wrong. Because I ran a quote for like 4 cars, home, boat, umbrella, internet lead, call the phone number, and it didn't work. So I think it's a complete waste of time unless you speak to them first on the phone.
I love it. Now I'm gonna give a little pushback. Anybody that's ever heard me knows that I am a fan of leaving voicemails. I think you should leave a voicemail on every single one. But the reason why I leave voicemails and how this is it's create curiosity, Jacob. So I teach the hang up method, for example. Hey, Jacob, this is Michael. My phone number is the reason I was giving you a call. Click.
Interesting. I haven't heard of that one before.
Try it sometime. Let me know what you think.
I will try it next week at work, and I'll text you and see how it works.
Yes.
or an old school one is just hey, Jacob, this is Michael giving you a quick call. My number is, please give me a call back. And I'll say XYZ insurance company. So trying to create that curiosity or sense of urgency. Why is Jacob from XYZ insurance company calling? But you've got your process. This is not me trying to change your process, but for those individuals that are should I leave a message? Should I not? I think you should do whatever process works best for you. I personally am just a fan. I've always cold called. I've cold called for years, and I left a voicemail on every single cold call because I personally am not going to call a number back that doesn't leave a voicemail.
I think this is interesting, though, because these are
we have two totally different demographics. Yeah.
Two different generations.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jacob, you're in a different generation than we are. So how you're selling and how you're prospecting is how you want to be sold to. Just we're in the same camp of yeah, we're elder millennials. So leaving a voicemail is pretty common for us because we grew up in the era where you had to say, call me back at this number. And then you repeat it hey, if you didn't get it. Now it's it transcribes this. I don't need you to leave your phone number twice, but I still do that kind of thing. I think that's so interesting. I'm curious for the producers and the agents that are listening to this episode right now, what are the mistakes that you are seeing other producers or agents or something that you would never do in your career right now? What are the things where you're no, this is a red flag. Don't do this. This is the thing. This is what's getting in your way of production.
I would say don't take the opportunity for granted, and then don't waste your time doing stuff that won't make you money. Those are 2 things that come to mind. I would probably have a different answer if I thought about it more, but those are 2 things that are just speaking to me right now.
Okay.
Because I think this is the greatest opportunity ever. I capitalize it the best way I can. So I just don't understand why more people don't put the same amount of effort as I do. Because it's fun. And it's I think my favorite part about the job, it's getting to know people that you wouldn't have known if you haven't been working in insurance. Because I know a lot of loan officers, real estate agents. I'm just surprised people take this opportunity for granted. And I never will. And I think just doing stuff that wastes time. If you make one call, no one answers, you go to the bathroom, you go buy coffee. I still go buy coffee, but I think just wasting time, right? And they were just going on your phone the entire day, making 5 calls. That's one big mistake that I think a lot of people make. Taking things for granted and then just doing things that just waste time.
Just out of curiosity, how many calls are you making a day?
It used to be a lot more, but I care more about talk time now because I feel the longer I have someone on the phone, the more likely they are to buy for me. I check on a weekly basis, so sometimes it's 200 to 300 only, but my talk time was 12 to 15 hours. So I'm on the phone a lot, I don't really care about the amount of dials. I strictly focus on talk time than the amount of quotes I'm running.
Yep. Conversations, baby.
I think that's fantastic. Okay, so I want to speak to the agents for just a second. So what is the thing that keeps you motivated every single day? What was the opportunity that Hike presented to you that you said, yes, I will show up and I will continue to work? Is it that there was growth? Was that you could make as much money as you wanted? Does he have a clear training program? Does he have systems, leads? What was it that you were like, this is a no-brainer? I'm definitely going to come in and crush it? Because a lot of agents want you, but they want to be able to position an offer in a way that attracts somebody like you.
I never thought I would work in sales, to be honest. I thought I'd be like a nurse or a doctor, to be honest. But I mean, my uncle is actually an insurance agent in Texas, but he would say, like, don't follow what you're passionate at, do what you're good at. And that just stuck with me for some reason. And then, I mean, I've always had a knack of like being able to like talk to people, make jokes, make people laugh. So I mean, I just wanted to try it out and see what happens. I mean, on that first call I ever had with Hike, I didn't ask him a single question about pay, to be honest. He just told me about the opportunity, what he does, how his office is killing it. And I just like, something about the vision just really drew me in. I never asked about pay, to be honest.
That's amazing. Okay, before we wrap, for the producers that are listening and for the agents that are listening, what's one piece of advice that you can give that they can take action on today?
Easiest thing to change is just talk a lot more about umbrellas, because if you do that, if you talk to every person you quote about umbrellas, you will uncover other needs, and then you'll just notice that the amount of policies you write will just increase. I love umbrellas. I think they solve a lot of problems, right? Because I mean, I think dealing with a customer who has an umbrella is better than dealing with a customer with like 25, 50 limits, right? I mean, it's a pattern I've noticed. There's no stats behind it, but I find it people, they're wealthier, higher educated, more understanding, more respectful of your time. They talk to you like a professional. Whereas typically those 25, 50 clients, they kind of treat you just as like a random person from a call center. I don't know. It's just a pattern I've noticed. So I think umbrellas really solve a lot of problems.
I love that.
And there is statistical data out there that backs that they are going to be a customer for longer from a retention standpoint, because 25, 50 single line customers just typically aren't even with you 6 to 12 months longer. So that is great advice. And you said this earlier in the conversation that I love is you look at it as a 3-point play. And I freaking love that. I'm hanging on to that. Jacob, this is awesome. We appreciate your time today, man. If somebody wanted to like follow you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Just take my first and last name, search it up on Instagram. I don't think anyone else has my last name besides my dad. So, I mean, if you search up my last name, you'll find me.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Jacob, this has been fantastic, brother. We appreciate you and your time today. For all of those of you tuning in today, whether it's on the podcast or YouTube, thank you so much for your time. As always, time and attention are by far our most important assets, and we appreciate you spending it with us today on The Buzz. Go out, make it great. Jacob, keep
Absolutely.
crushing, brother.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me.